word. That's how we practiced in my mock interview.
Oh.
Well, good morning, and happy Independence Day to you. It was 225 years ago that our nation was founded by, or actually our independence was declared on this very day. And ironically, today you are here to pick a new leader, similar to the leaders that wrote that Declaration of Independence. And I am here today to apply for that leadership position because I stand before you confident in my communication skills, knowing that I'm a charismatic young woman and ready to be a representative for the state of Washington and ultimately possibly for the nation of America. So with that, I'm ready to start the interview and converse with you.
Okay, is this your first pageant? It isn't, is it?
It is not.
No? And how long ago have you been involved with the pageant system?
Well, actually, I've been continuously involved with pageanting since the age of 19. And my first pageant was with the Miss America system at a local community level as Miss Lewis County. And now I am back again as Miss Pierce County, but I was involved in Seafair during the summer a couple of years ago.
And how's the pageant? How have you changed in those last few years?
Oh, well, I think I've grown. You know, I think anyone who starts out at 19, obviously there's maturity to the age of 23, which is where I'm at now. And I also think that my package is a little bit different now. I think I've kind of come into my own. I'm confident in who I am, and I'm ready to share that with other people rather than being more self-focused.
So describe your package to me.
My package, well, the wrapping is pretty good for starters, but I think it's the inner young woman that is really coming out today as opposed to where I was when I was 19. So the whole package that you will see is a talented young lady who enjoys dancing, a young woman who is well-spoken, and I think that the overall picture that you should see is just someone who is very prepared and very ready to go on to be Miss America, hopefully.
The year as Miss Washington is very demanding.
Yes, it is.
Are you really ready to meet those demands?
You know, I think I am. I work with student leaders at Pierce Community College, and I get thrown a number of things during the course of the day, and things are happening quickly, and we're moving fast, and so every day it requires that I be very organized, that I have a list of things that are of top priority, and make sure that I'm meeting my deadlines, but also making sure that I'm meeting the needs of those students. And I think that's kind of what Miss Washington does. She has to be organized in her own life, but she has to be ready and willing to meet the needs of the Miss Washington board and of those people in her community who rely on her to be a figurehead. And I think I'm ready to do that.
Brianne, what is the biggest misconception that people might have of you?
Of me? They think I'm reserved. They really do. Everyone always says to me, "Oh, Brianne, you have such a classic look. You know, you seem so poised, and you're very elegant." And so that's why I've chosen the talent that I have, because I think that it allows me to loosen up a little bit. My director originally said, "Oh, Brianne, I see you in a white flowing tutu with wings." And I said, "Oh, no." So I'm using music from West Side Story, and somebody told me the other day that, "Oh, Brianne, that one part in your music, it sounds like stripper music." And I said, "Yes!" I want people to see a whole other side of me.
How many years have you been dancing?
Well, I started at the age of 3, and I was in a performing company when I was younger, and then at high school I kind of stopped dancing, but I've been off and on since then, so probably a total of about 18 years off and on.
And now going back to pageantry again, because I'm interested in this sort of thing. What did you do the first year?
I danced.
Well, what kind of performance?
Oh, I did classical ballet, and I did a variation from Coppelia called Prayer.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well, I hope to be married. I don't have a beau in my life at this time because time heavens wouldn't allow it. But I do hope to be married. I would love to be a mother and have children. And I probably would like to be a dean of students, actually, at a community college, and working my way maybe into a presidency position at a local community college.
Brianne, aging awareness is your platform. Why is it that American culture worships youth, and we sort of shun our elderly, and it's exactly the opposite in Asian societies?
Yes, that's very true.
Why do you think that is?
You know, I think that over the years we have really become focused on what the media puts out there for us to admire and really oogle. And you know, even the Miss America competition started out as a bathing beauty competition. We were admiring beautiful young women, and we've always been enamored with that youth culture. And because it's a happy time in our lives to be young, and often what we are afraid of is getting older. And that's not something to be afraid of, because I believe that with aging comes wisdom. those life experiences and those things that you can really, those memories that you can look back on that can be just as tangibly wonderful as the life you're living at that point in time. So I think that probably the reason that we are so enamored with youth is because it's a fun time in our lives. And we need to really revel in getting older and not see that as a scary process or a process that we don't want to be going through, but something that we're looking forward to. I can't wait to have grandkids. I don't even have kids yet.
As you worked with student leaders at the community college, what are some frustrations that you felt? And you just want to say, if you would just listen to me about this.
Well, we have a situation actually with two of our student leaders right now, dating in the workplace. Yeah, not a good idea. And two of our student leaders did start dating on our student leadership team, and now as a result they've had a breakup, and at this point they are really having a tough time working together. And so I have tried to talk with them about just communicating, working through it, but sometimes when you work with that age group, there is a level of hormones, there is a maturity level there that sometimes isn't what you want it to be. But I think just really helping them work through some of those discovery processes at that age and seeing what they can become and what they can overcome would be one of the things that I hope to instill in them, along with some great leadership skills.
Brianne, children learn from their parents and grandparents.
Yes.
What have your parents and grandparents learned from you?
What have they learned from me? Well, I hope they have learned from me a lot about the Lord. I am very strong in my Christian values and my faith, and just recently have really felt closer in my walk than I ever have before in my life. And I hope that I'm role modeling that to my parents and my grandparents, and I'm trying to drag my grandparents back into church because I feel that would be a good social link for them as well as a good spiritual link for them. But I hope that they've seen that in me.
Brianne, how long have you been involved with the area agencies on aging and the other aging awareness groups that you work with? How long have you been doing that?
Since I was 19. I became more and more involved when I started doing more research with my platform when I was Miss Lewis County.
How many hours a week do you put into the aging?
Well, I would say it depends on if I'm going out and working, actually volunteering that week, or if I'm making an appearance. Typically my appearances as Miss Pierce County have been related to my platform. But I would say probably about 6 hours a week.
Do you go to schools at all and speak or on this subject?
I have not yet had the opportunity as Miss Pierce County to be invited to schools, but a few years back when I was Miss Lewis County, I did a program with local school children, and we had a poster coloring contest. And they drew a poster of how they appreciated an elderly person that was in their life. And some of the posters that they came up with were just lovely. And then the Mariner Moose came down and helped me give out awards to these school children who had the best posters. And it was a panel of senior citizens at a local retirement community that judged those posters. So that was a really neat thing that I was able to do.
Brianne, you mentioned encouraging state in additional funding with legislation and that type of thing to help aging awareness programs. What is one area of funding that is being talked about right now in the state that you think you could impact, and how would you do it?
Well, I just saw an article this morning in the newspaper actually, and I'm really excited to hear about this, is that we're moving forward with making sure that our in-home caregivers are being paid well and that our standards are being increased for care in the home. And that is one of the key issues for our seniors, is to be able to remain in their homes so that they feel independent. They're still on their own. It's their home, it's their things, and they are comfortable there. And the longer that we can keep our senior citizens independent, the better they feel about getting older, and the more likely they are to stay active mentally and physically. So I think that making sure that our caregivers are being paid what they deserve to be paid, because they do work hard, and to make sure that our standards of care when they are in the home working with our seniors are high, and to make sure that those standards are being enforced and that we're setting enforceable standards, of course. And so I think that that's something that I could continue lobbying for legislatively.
We have a national discussion and concern about standardized testing throughout the country. You're starting to get lower grades. How do you feel about that?
Gosh, I never liked standardized tests when I was in school, and I don't think that they show the true learning ability or the true capability of the student. And there are many other ways to learn what those are. I do know that our young people are ranking behind other nations in standardized testing, and I think we need to take a close look at that. But I also think that we need to make sure that our teachers are really teaching what our students need to learn and not teaching to our standardized tests. which is what I fear the WASL test that has just been started here in the state
Here,
of Washington.
okay, we have another kind in Massachusetts, and
So what is your opinion on performance-based funding for education then, based on?
I worry about that, I really do, and I don't think that that's necessarily a good idea. We do need to hold our teachers accountable for making sure that our students are learning, but in order to pay our teachers and provide funding to our schools based on our students' performance, I think that's dangerous. I do.
Today, young people expect payback for everything. Volunteerism really isn't part of their vocabulary. What would you do or suggest we do to turn the tide?
To turn the tide so that our young people aren't expecting the payback? Is that what I'm hearing you ask? Okay. Well, I think that encouraging volunteerism, starting at the kindergarten, grade school, middle school level, and getting those young people out into the community to serve in some way, shape, or form, or having them maybe be pen pals to an older community, making sure that they are starting that volunteerism and giving early on in life.
Time is up, and the time that remains is yours. Is there anything
Okay.
that we haven't covered that you'd like for us to know?
Well, just to finish up with that question, I think that volunteering is one of the most valuable things that any of us can do with our time at any age. Not only are we helping someone else, but really when we see what we have done to serve someone else, that ultimately that makes us feel good when we can see the reward that comes from that. And it is tangible and it does make you feel good. I know that in Pierce County we have an excellent service set up for our senior citizens. But I think that we need to continue to grow across the state of Washington and ultimately across the nation in making sure that our seniors are being properly cared for and to make sure that our older Americans really truly feel valued. And I know that we can do that starting first at the community level and then moving on and encouraging our government to follow suit. That I'd like to thank you for your time.
We thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, have a good morning.